This is seriously messed up, guys. Bank accounts frozen. Protect yourself today. I've been talking about this. Compassion is something that we all try to instill in our kids. It means that they can somehow relate to other people and feel sympathy for their misfortunes. This, however, was frowned upon when it happened in Canada, and in fact, it even got a lot of companies blacklisted. Who did these companies feel compassion for? The truckers who took part in protests against vaccine mandates. Now, let me ask you guys, do you think that this was warranted? I mean, how would you feel if you showed compassion for others and for it, you get hit straight in the wallet? This is one of those days where I wish I was making this up, but just like every single day, I feel like, I'm just bringing you guys the cold hard facts. Now, before I continue, please do me a huge favor, drop a big like for the video, and also sharing this video totally helps out with the channel as I do my best to give the facts out to our community each and every single day. Now, if you're new here and if you're in need of your daily dose of the truth when it comes to Social Security, the state of our economy, global happenings, the housing market, the stock market, and everything going on in Washington, D.C. that affects the real people, be sure to subscribe to the channel. And for the best way to invest in gold or silver, make sure to hit the link down below this video. So guys, the health crisis, it was a pretty weird time, right? There's a lot of stuff that happened in different parts of the world that's similar to what we've seen in futuristic movies, one that showed a lot of control. Now, when we talk about countries like Canada, one thing that instantly pops into your head would be the trucker convoy. That's not unlikely since even our own lawmakers were talking about it. I mean, think about it. These guys were already working during the pandemic without a vaccine, meaning that they've already risked their lives, and it seems as if none of them has suffered really any significant health consequences during this time, mostly because they worked inside of a truck alone and they just wanted to have their opinion be respected. I mean, does that really seem like a stretch of their rights? They just wanted to be given the freedom to have the choice. Now, it wasn't them saying no to the vaccine. It was more of their disagreement of having it be mandated in order to keep their way of living going. This is what the Prime Minister had to say about it.
Over the past many months and years now, Canadians have stepped up to protect each other, to protect our frontline workers, to protect our elders, to protect our young people, to protect people like truckers who are putting food on our grocery store shelves. Canadians have stepped up to do the right thing to protect the freedoms and the rights of Canadians to get back to the things we love to do. We know the way through this pandemic is by getting everyone vaccinated. And the overwhelming majority, close to 90% of Canadians, have done exactly that. The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms, our rights, our values as a country.
It's obvious that Trudeau wasn't very happy with these truckers. Why should people have the right to decide for their own body, right? He called them anti-science, which is ironic because we now know that the vaccines as administered by Pfizer publicly, well, at this point, you know the story.
Was the Pfizer COVID vaccine tested on stopping the transmission of the virus before it entered the market? If not, please say it clearly. If yes, are you willing to share the data with this committee? And I really want a straight answer, yes or no, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
Regarding the question around, did we know about stopping immunisation before it's entered the market? No. We had to really move at the speed of science to really understand what is taking place in the market. And from that point of view, we had to do everything at risk.
Granted, this information came out after Trudeau's speech about following the science, but I'll bet he's not all that apologetic even after finding out that the vaccines, he just saw the video. So anyway, Arnold Viersen, a conservative MP, sent in an inquiry to confirm a few things regarding how the protests were handled. In it, he asked a few questions. Quote, with regard to the government's response to the Freedom Convoy protests broken down by department, agency, or other department entity, what was the total number of employees or full-time equivalents who were assigned to report monitor, advise, or gather information for the department about the convoy and protectors? Was the information collected shared with any banks or other financial institutions? And if so, which ones? So basically, he's asking, how many people did you have work through all of this private information of those participated in the convoy? Did they share their sensitive information with banks? And what did it cost to have all this done? Pretty logical, right? As it turns out, a list of the 201 companies who were sympathetic to the truckers, they were blacklisted through Finance Minister's Christina Freeland's office secretly distributing the list.
So you're confirming that accounts have been frozen, both personal and corporate, but you're not releasing the information. And the actual follow-up is, I'm just wondering whether the bank accounts will be targeted of individuals who donated to the Give, Send, Go and the GoFundMe campaigns. Are they considered designated people under the Emergencies Act, meaning that their credit cards could be cut and financial services are targeting them as well?
Okay, so the names of both individuals and entities, as well as crypto wallets, have been shared by the RCMP with financial institutions, and accounts have been frozen, and more accounts will be frozen. Crowdfunding platforms and payment service providers have started the registration process with FinTrack. In terms of the specifics on whose accounts are being frozen, you now have the regulations. The financial service providers have those regulations as well, and they, working with law enforcement, will be making the operational decisions.
The Royal Canadian Mounted Police shared this blacklist to Canadian officers of different foreign banks, and out of the 201 companies, 198 of them were Canadian. Now, here's where things get a little chippy. The RCMP wanted to be the channel to relay information between provincial and territorial law enforcement and financial institutions for the entities to fulfill their obligations under the Emergency Economic Measures Order. An estimate shows, oh man, you guys are not going to believe this, around 7.8, almost $8 million belonging to suspected convoy supporters were frozen in 267 banks and credit union accounts. And it also does not end there, because about 170 Bitcoin wallets were also frozen. I mean, think about this for a second. That Emergencies Act gave them the power to freeze not just the bank accounts of convoy participants, but it also gave them the power to do it to their supporters as well. Now, what do you guys make of this? Do you think that this was appropriate? I mean, what do you think is going to happen when CBDC comes out? I mean, how would you feel if this was done to you? Now, I don't want to use this term very much, but in all honesty, it sounds a little bit draconian. Anybody here in our community who is from Canada, do you support this type of governance? Now, I've heard others say that the truckers were more of a symbol of hope rather than disarray, that they were saying what other people couldn't say. I mean, is this something that you saw with their protests, or were these truckers simply rebels that needed to be tamed? Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Now, if there's one thing that I want to be tamed, is inflation. That thing's like a forest fire. It's feeding onto our wallets and making the price of everything that we need out of reach. I know people who are running up the tab on their credit cards because they can barely afford what they previously could afford before. That's not the America that we've been used to. It's not the lifestyle that we're used to. But since you got this far, let's go ahead and talk about opportunities to make money, because that is always a great topic. Now, if you want to make money through multiple streams of income, we could talk about small businesses and side hustles, maybe even find a nice side hustle niche that works for you. We can also discuss investments in gold and silver. Probably can't go wrong with that either. And with the crashes that are coming, you best believe that the real estate market and the stock market is probably going to open up a lot of opportunities to grow wealth for a very cheap price. Now, if you guys want to learn more about these things and protect yourself, definitely drop me some comments down below. Also, for the best way to invest in gold, hit the link in the description down below. Appreciate you guys watching. Please be kind to one another. Oh, don't forget to like this video and share it, and I'll see you guys on the next video.